There we go. How's that? That better? Yeah. I'm not exactly sure why the audio was off on that. That's weird. That's kind of how that might work, though. But I am seeing the comments coming through, so that's really great. But I want to talk a little bit about, of course, the night and day video. That one's kind of getting a lot of interest, and people asking me some questions about that one, and different ways you can play on it. And of course, what I did with that was kind of took that modal and I eliminated the 5 chord on that, and I think that really worked out a little bit better in terms of just trying to make. There you go. Oh, okay, Cynthia. Just trying to kind of make that work a little cleaner. Basically what you're doing there is taking that B and you're basically making it Lydian by thinking of it as a hidden 2-5. So if we think of that as a minor 2-5 to a major 1, that's kind of what you're getting in that whole thing. And we know that if we have a F minor 7 flat 5, of course we can just play A flat Dorian over that. So when you do that, that B is kind of in the key signature of G flat major. And so it creates all that Lydian goodness, Right? And then, basically when you're taking out the 5, you're taking out the tension chord there, but you really don't need it. So check it out. So that's really kind of how all that's working. So really what you're doing is you're thinking of that B as in the key signature of G flat major, the 4-chord G flat major. So it kind of works really cool. Now, one of the questions I had from someone is giant steps. Now, a lot of the things you can do with giant steps, and you can actually, what's really great is you can combine these two tunes. So you really can look at the first part of giant steps, or that first part of the A section as we look at it, and really look at it because you have the same number of bars as you would do in night and day. So if you think about a lot of those Coltrane patterns, that takes me right to E flat, and I'm starting on B major, as it were. So I'm going from B major ultimately to E flat major, and along the way, of course, I'm hitting G major, and I'm superimposing that upon the night and day tune. So kind of what I'm doing is and I'm getting to the bridge. So if I superimpose it again, or and that's kind of how that's all working. So because you have that separation and those major third splits of major seventh chords, it really lends itself really fantastically to kind of get to the whole giant steps kind of thing, and works like that. But let's play tune, and hopefully we got some other people coming on. But I'll play another tune for you. Yeah. And the tune is Minority, and a great tune. One of the ones I really like because what you can do in that is use a lot of one of my favorite scales, melodic minor. You've got these non-resolving kind of minor chords or dominant chords, depending on how you want to look at it. But anything usually when it comes to kind of a chromatic approach, it really lends itself to melodic minor, in my opinion. I mean, it's just the way I kind of look at it. I really dig that ability to, superimpose that major 9 on top of that that tune or that that scale or that chord, because it just creates a little bit of added tension, and it's something that really allows itself to kind of open the tune up and create separation. Now, of course, Dorian's awesome. I love Dorian, man. It's one of my favorite scales, but and I play it all the time. I probably overplay it, because I know it so well, and I just dig the sound of that major 6 and the minor 7 and of course the 9 on it. All of that kind of sounds great. But when you come to tunes like Minority, or even tunes like Night and Day, or tunes like There Will Never Be Another You, you have so much opportunity, particularly over those dominant and the non-resolving dominants, to play melodic minor, Lydian flat 7, and you get that augmented triad. And it's such a great sound. With that sharp 11, flat 5, however you look at it. That, you're really kind of, particularly when you're going back to a 2-5, so if I'm playing. And then, of course, I can play diminished over the 5. Or anything I want. And I can also use the altered scale, which is melodic minor half step up, so I can. And of course, resolving on the 5th there, so that works fantastic too. Anybody got any questions, man, for me while I'm hanging here? If you do, shoot me a question. I'd be more than happy to answer any of those questions. Talking about improvisation, ideas, tunes that we're working on, tunes that you might be interested in, all of that good stuff. So yeah. Right. So I one of the things that's kind of cool is how to practice strategies. That's one of the questions that I see is practice strategies. And I kind of have a variety of different ways I go about how to practice and what strategies to use. And one of the ways that I think about practice strategies is within the context of a tune. That's a great way. So if you're thinking of in the context of a tune, starting with kind of the chords, and that's basically I start with the harmony. So if we take a tune like There'll Never Be Another You, starting on E flat, right? One of the basic things I want to do before I do anything is really know what I'm dealing with in terms of key signatures and chords, looking at the harmony. Also, really checking out, do I know the chord scales and the positions around that? Now, all of that seems like a lot, but the more and more you do it within the context of a tune and where to grab things on the guitar as you start to do more and more of it, it just becomes almost like routine. It starts off as somewhat of a laborious kind of tack, but let's just take the first chord of There Will Never Be Another You, right? That E flat. And so when we start with just that chord, right, it's an E flat major scale, but knowing the chord scale, knowing a lot of arpeggios and knowing a lot of E flat kind of lines are great. But understanding, of course, understanding the chord scale and everything that's inside that chord is really, really important. Because the thing about it is you're really kind of getting your handle on how things are really working and the position and everything that you're playing. So check it out. So if I take that E flat and I'm grabbing that position, right? I'm playing that scale. If I'm up with that inversion, I've got that portion of the scale. Now, of course, we know the whole scale is, and there's a lot of different chord voicings that I can play along in that position. You know, and I'm just getting all the sounds of E flat major kind of in my head. So and I'm knowing those different inversions kind of where they are. So for example, if I'm thinking about E flat major and where things are, I'm basically just kind of looking at the chord scales along with all of that stuff. If I'm playing E flat major up here, all like that, right? That's just the first chord. And I'm doing that with every chord, but some of this, in terms of simplifying the harmony, we can kind of scale it back. So if we take just the first 2, 3, 4 chords of this tune, right? I'm just going to stop on that C minor, right? If I stop on that C minor, dig it, right? All of that really technically is in the key of E flat. So I'm just kind of, I'm thinking of all those chords, and I'm thinking of where they fit into the key center of E flat, and they're all in the key center of E flat. So I can basically play an E flat scale. I may be thinking of it starting on a different note. I might be thinking of the E flat scale starting on D or starting on C, you know, but I'm really kind of thinking of that scale and accentuating the notes that go along with that particular chord. But as I adjust my chords, I'm just basically adjusting everything as they go down the scale or as the tune kind of progresses. So that's really how I think about it, and that's kind of how I think of practicing. You know, I don't necessarily think of practicing as you know, regimented technical drilling through scales and arpeggios, and then okay, now I'm going to play and I'm going to play tunes. I try to think about a skill. So if I want to know how to play melodic minor, I think about, well, where are cats using, where would you use that scale? What would be the most common thing? Now you have to know your stuff in order to do that. But, you know, one of the things that you have to do is kind of think about the context and how much time you're going to kind of devote to understanding the scale, and then how much time, you know, you want to kind of look at the tune and like that. So so that's a great question though, man. Like, you know, that's a really fantastic topic, you know. So, well, if we don't have any other questions, man, I'm gonna play another tune, if that's cool. Somebody think of something else. Yeah, great tune, Solar by Miles Davis, and that's a great one because you know it's got a lot of those abilities to plug in different kind of tensions and use some altered dominant sounds and things like that. Cynthia, what do you got to say to us? Let me pull that out so I can see it. So, yeah, I mean it's you know the whole thing of remembering information is a battle we all have. I think it's kind of like Pat Martino described it to me the best. He basically said, "You remember the time when you first understood about how a car drove, and what you did is you knew that the car had a gas pedal and it had a key, and those were the mechanisms basically in a brake, steering wheel. Those are the mechanisms that kind of make the car go. And at some point, you learned it, you understood how it worked, and at some point, you just didn't even think about how it worked. You just got in the car, put the key in, turned it, and hit the gas pedal, and it just went. It became automatic. I think it's like any part of learning. But you didn't wake up, you know, years later and practice putting the key in the car, and you didn't practice hitting the gas pedal. It sounds silly, but you know, that's kind of what happened. So the way I think about headspace when it comes to learning and playing and everything, there's only so much, right? So what you want to do is you want to make as much of it as you can automatic through real experiences rather than just kind of like rote memorization of stuff, you know. And the way that you learn how to do the key in the car and the gas pedal, and even to this day, you know, when I drive, I mess around with the gas pedal, you know. So it's kind of like, you know, it's by doing it. So in the case of like you know, applying it to a tune, it basically is looking for linkages and not trying to practice things in such an isolated way. Try to practice them in real ways. So if I was learning how to drive the car, I could read a book about how to put the key in the car. But until I started to do that, until I started to start it and just do that process over and over repetitively in the context of having to go somewhere, that's kind of where the learning became embedded and automatic. And it's the same thing. On jazz tunes, you know, playing over tunes, it's kind of like, you know, man, you know, you forget sometimes where you are, or you might lose the form in your head because the harmony gets a little ambiguous. So it's kind of like you know so much about what's happening, but you can't really stop and think of that while you're playing. It has to become automatic. And you're not going to remember it or be able to recall it until it becomes kind of embedded inside of your brain. And you're not going to do that unless you have real experiences with practice and playing, you know. And you know, practicing is a kind of a controversial thing, and it's a weird topic from a lot of people. A lot of people feel like you need to just practice rotely, and it should be painful. And I think a lot of people, particularly jazz players, get that sense because of Train. He was a voracious practicer, and he practiced a lot of technical kinds of things. But I gotta believe, we don't know. You know, no one's inside Train's head right now, but I have to believe that he practiced that with a purpose and end, you know, and a way to create something from it. He didn't just practice. There's a lot of cats out there that I see are post stuff, and you know, they're just practicing things, and it's great. I think it's great to expand the harmony, but you know, it's not really doing us a whole lot in terms of learning how to play it, because on the bandstand you can't really be thinking about things too much. It just has to be automatic. Think if you were on the highway driving the car and you were thinking, well, what do I do now? Do I hit the gas pedal or do the brake pedal? You'd be in an accident every day, right? So this is the same thing. You know, it'd be an accident every day on the bandstand. And it happens to all of us because there's so much information when it comes to playing. And when you start to overthink it, that's when you start to fall down. So it's memory. It's kind of like memory activities. I think one of the basic ones is, you know, we all know Happy Birthday, you know, or we know our ABC song, and we've memorized those melodies. But we also know that the melodies follow a certain kind of tune, and it's the same thing with playing music, man. It's like there will never be another you, you know. I can sing that melody, I know it. So I know the chord's going to change there. As I said before when I started this discussion, I was talking about E flat, right? It's still an E flat, but the chord changes, right? Just those two chords. So when I think about it, as I'm practicing, if I just wanted to learn how to blow on this tune, just those two chords, or let's take the first four because, let's take the first four till we get to the relative minor, which is C minor, right? Then G7, right? And it switches to the relative minor, which is common in a lot of tunes. Playing the same key center, just using the flip, the relative minor. Now there's four chords there. E flat major, D minor 7 flat 5, G altered maybe, probably, because we're going to a minor, right? We could play off the third, it's fine, but it's nice to get that augmented 5 in there. Right, and if we do play E flat over that, we're getting an augmented 5. And in fact, we're getting G, the flat 3, the 4, the 5, and the augmented 5. So all that Dorian, you know, the F Dorian works over that G, right? So all that's a lot of information. But dig, we know that that's E flat major scale. So we start trying to make E flat major automatic as the chords or the flavor of the chords are changing, but we're all kind of in the same family. So you might have 4 siblings. They all have the last name, but they have different first names, and that's what makes them unique. That's the same thing of this, right? You have Mary, and her name might be Jones, and you have Bob, and his name might be Jones, and you have Ralph, and his name might be Jones, and then you have Layla, and her name might be Jones. I don't know if I'm going to remember these people's names, but all those people are related to the E flat family, right? And so, or the clan. I should have used Layla E flat, but I didn't. But they're all related to the Jones family, right? So Jones, 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 Jones. But they all have different first names, and they might have different heights and different weights and all that stuff. So, you're trying to create linkages by slowly practicing and hearing these strategies. Over time, once you do it enough, it becomes so automatic you're not thinking about it. Just like I'm sitting here and I'm talking, I'm not scripting things out. I'm improvising what I'm saying. I've talked so much in my life, maybe too much, man, that that it becomes kind of automatic and like that. So cool. So I hope that answers that question. I think it's a good one, and it's one that a lot of players battle because they try to know so much that then they forget kind of what's happening. I've seen that happen a lot with players. You'll call a certain tune and say, "Yeah, I used to remember to play that, but I forgot it." It happens to me too because you learn so much that you forget what you don't know. You forget what you used to know, I should say, and like that. So, but well, man, I appreciate everybody tuning in. It has been a lot of fun. And if there are any more questions, that is great. Anybody else hopping on board? I'm going to play another tune, and maybe we will have a couple more folks posting in. And if not, I will see you the next session. But I'm going to play, I think I'm actually going to play that tune. It was such a fun way to do it. So. Yeah. Oh, There Will Never Be Another You. Fantastic tune. And like that. I know we had a lot of likes. We had about 153 likes. A lot of people kind of cursory checking in. Not a lot of comments, but that is okay. If you dig this kind of format, please send me a message, make a comment later on, let me know, and I'll be doing more of these sessions occasionally, just to kind of pick apart some of the tunes that I've been working on, and can we hit a little bit of Night and Day, and There'll Never Be Another You, and a portion of Giant Steps, and some other improvising strategies and all that. So everybody tuning in, I really do appreciate it. And of course, I will see you tonight on my Facebook page. That's live with Bruce Grigori and at Jazz, and that is at 6:30 p.m. on Facebook, Eastern Standard Time. I'll see you again. Peace.
Bruce Grigori, video on demand. www.brucegrigori.vhx.tv